Hi, and welcome to another episode of Craft Stories on iStill TV. And today I'm talking to John Smith of the Exmoor Distillery in the UK.
Meet John Smith and his wife Nicola. After years of traveling the world, the couple set up Exmoor Distillery in the idyllic Somerset countryside. They have turned their hands to producing a flavorful gin that everyone is now enjoying. With John's flair for being a craftsman and cabinet maker in his spare time, he is never happier than getting hands-on at the distillery. Combine this with Nicola's efficiency of running a small business, and Exmoor Distillery is quickly becoming known as a leading small batch artisan gin distillery of note.
Hi John, good to see you.
And you too, Sebastian, long time.
It has been. So let's start, where we start every interview with this. How did becoming a craft distiller start for you? Did you wake up one day and you decided, I'm going to be a craft distiller? What was that journey like?
No, it was a long-term plan of mine over many years. I'd thought about doing it for quite some time, but up until a few years ago, I was very committed to my career job. And so I knew for sure that to do it properly, I'd need to dedicate some considerable time to it, which I didn't really feel I had enough time to do it justice. But just several years ago, I've kind of reduced my commitment to my career job. And so that gave me enough time, I thought, then to venture into it properly and give it the time it deserves. So based on that, then I did some research and discovered iStill, of course, and your course and the equipment that you had to offer. And it sounded like a great fit. So it all started from there, really, about 3 years ago now.
Right. And what was the initial spark that made you want to go into distilling?
I've always been quite interested in the actual process of distillation. I'm an engineer by trade, and so not just the process, but the equipment involved always kind of interested me. Also, I do like to drink quality spirits, and I always had it at the back of my mind that if I did venture into it, then I could potentially produce some quality spirits, which I and others might like. So it was the whole gambit, really. It was the process. It was the idea that I could produce something a little bit different of a very high quality. And that's since become the case, as we'll probably talk about a bit later.
Okay, and then you started doing your research, you started reading books, you started reading online probably, and you came to the iStill course.
The first formal training I had was with yourselves on the course. So after that course, then followed a whole series of experimentations with different recipes, different processes, different botanical combinations, obviously. And so the course gave me enough of a foundation, certainly, to go away then and start laying down the proper foundation and the building blocks to make something good. But it wasn't immediately after. It took 6, 7, 8 months of experimentation before I took the plunge and decided I had something that was worth selling.
That was the one big eye-opener for you, something that suddenly clicked where you said, oh, right, I never thought about that.
I wouldn't say there was one big eye-opener. There was a whole series of small and not so small eye-openers. I mean, the whole thing to me was fascinating. The course was extremely good. And particularly the introduction to your equipment, the iStill equipment. I've been put off a little bit by the idea of having to remortgage the house to buy a big copper beast that a lot of people do. But then I caught sight of your iStill equipment, and that whole thing appealed to me as an engineer. And the idea that, a new innovative machine was available to produce really quality products without having to remortgage the house and invest massive amounts of money. So I think that particularly was a real eye opener to me and an awakening that you could do really good things in a new way.
Let's talk a little bit about your distillery. It's called Exmoor.
Well, we're just inside the Exmoor National Park boundary in Somerset in the UK. We're right on the border between Somerset and Devon. And so hence the name Exmoor. And it's one of the national parks in the UK. So that's where we're at now. On a small industrial estate, I have 2 units here, one for production, which is this one, and then one for storage of all the bottles, the boxes, the consumables that you inevitably need to store somewhere. So it was a real boon for me initially to get this one unit here because I live a mile away, so I can actually walk into work. And then a second unit became available, so I snapped that up, and I'm thankful I did because it becomes very apparent very quickly that you're going to need more space than you think you're going to need to do any kind of serious production. And so we have 2 units here, and it works very well. It was 500 and a 100, and I have a mini.
Yes, there's the mini in the back for the
and I have enough space here for a 2,000 litre, which will be coming soon, I hope.
Right.
Outside, if I just show you quickly outside, I have a big chiller unit, which is plumbed in here, and that chills both the stills. So the 2 stills are here, of course, and then I have my holding tanks over here. So I have at the minute 2 1,000 and 2 600 litre tanks where I store in duty suspension my gin before we bottle it here, the bottling table. And then I store a little bit of product over here because we sell online an awful lot now, particularly in this current climate with the COVID crisis. We sell more online than wholesale at the minute, obviously, because a lot of places are closed. So we do all of that from here. We box up and we send out these packages for you to go out today. One batch has gone this morning. This will be this afternoon. Up the stairs then to the mezzanine. This is a reverse osmosis water filtration system. The water here is on borehole, and I did experiment at the start of using that directly from the borehole, but there's too much mineral content in it, so it didn't work too well. So I install this then, and the reverse osmosis filtration system works excellent. This also gives me really safe access then to the top of the stills. This allows me obviously to access the top of the columns really safely. Just here will be a much bigger column from a 2,000 litre, I hope quite soon. Little office space over the other end where we do all our administration and the like.
Let's talk about your products. You already showed us you're making a gin.
Okay, I make 2 gins.
2 gins?
They're both London dry style gins. This is one of them. This is the first gin that we launched. It's a 44% London dry style. And this was the second one we launched, which is a 57% or a Navy strength gin. They're both multi-award winning products now, but this last couple of months, I'm really pleased to say that we've won double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits competition for our 44%. And at the same time, we won a gold medal there for the Navy. So in terms of awards this year, couldn't have been much better for us. We're really pleased with that. And it's just fantastic to get the industry recognition that everyone strives for. I think if you're making your own product, you want it to be recognized as something quite special. So that's been very successful for these 2 this year.
Yeah.
I have over here 2,000 litres of red wine. I don't know if you can see the IBCs. I've just bought this red wine from a wine producer locally who is now closing down his winery. He doesn't want to make any more. So I bought that to experiment to make a little bit of brandy. So I'm just waiting on delivery of barrels, and then I'll be distilling that next week to make a one-off special edition Exmoor brandy, because the winery is on Exmoor too, or was, and so that will be something quite special, I hope, in a couple of years after we've aged it for a while. So I have my rum process and protocols pretty much finalized, and later on this year we'll launch a white rum and a spiced rum to follow. I was going to do that earlier this year, but I don't think now is quite the time to launch a new product with the current situation that we're all facing.
Sure. So, well, you're being versatile there. So there's 2 gins, there's brandy coming up, there's rum coming up.
That's it.
Great. Congratulations on your medals, on your awards.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
It's always a difficult question, but why do you think are your gins outstanding, and why did you win the awards?
Well, ultimately, I mean, I'm not one for geeky drinks. I like it. My gins are classic London dry style gins, but ultimately, and I think this is true of any quality product, the difference is in the taste. And that comes down to the methods of production and the selection of botanicals, right down to really fine quality, as you well know. You know, the volumes of each are critical when combined. And so all the experimentation that we went through in the early days has paid off. And we could talk about the packaging and the label and all the rest, which is crucial for marketing. But ultimately, if you're going to win a test, particularly in a blind tasting, a proper professional blind type tasting, it's got to be the taste. That's what it comes down to. So I would say in answer to that my gins taste like no other. They might not be to everyone's taste, but they are quality products, and they've been recognized as such. So, you know, they're made the way I like to taste the gin, and we have now a rapidly expanding customer base of repeat customers, both individual and business related customers who love the product. So I'm just really pleased with the way that turned out.
Let's talk about craft distilling. So you became a craft distiller a couple of years ago. You're now up and running. And when we look at your premises, you just showed us around, it's totally different from what you would expect or what the audience expects a distillery to look like. So could you tell us a little bit more about that? The difference between craft distilling, the new style like you guys do, and the old style of distilling with the copper stills?
Well, you know, I never was involved in the old style, and so I'm lucky. And I think I'm lucky in that respect. That the equipment we have available now allow us to do so much more with one equipment than ever before. So I guess in terms of space, you can be more compact. Although I would say to anyone thinking about starting up, you will need more space than you think. You know, I'd actually considered starting this at home. I have a second building, a big outbuilding near my house, and I thought that would be the perfect place. But I'm just thankful I never did try that because it's much too small. And even one building like this would be too small if you want to start storing your bottles and your boxes and everything else that goes into it. So you can be more compact than a much bigger, older-fashioned, I'd say, distillery. But the biggest difference for me is in the quality of and the versatility of the equipment that you guys sell. And it's been a massive learning curve for me this last 2-3 years, actually. And you know, I could wax lyrical all day about it, really. But the things that have become apparent to me, and the things that I had no experience of, was the marketing and what goes into actually getting your product to the market. It's one thing to create something special. It's completely something else to sell it. And that is a huge challenge, particularly in such a busy, crowded marketplace that we have today. So you need quality above all else. Without quality, there's no point trying to do anything else. But once you have something developed, which you think is special, then the big challenge comes with selling it and getting it on the market. I've experimented with quite a few things, PR companies, social media, of course, is massive, and we put a lot of effort into it. But all of that was quite new to me. I have the engineering background, of course, as I said earlier. And so actually making the plant work is one thing which I enjoy and was quite familiar with and picked up very quickly. Selling the stuff is another thing, and that continues to be a challenge. You know, we're doing very well, but there's a lot more to do. And creating a brand and getting your product out there is the really big challenge for me, anyway.
Lovely talking to you again. Thank you very much for the interview.
Oh, cheers, Sebastian. Cheers. Bye.